relate to thought, atheism, existentialism, feminism. This is really common with those. So, it's really strange how, the questions develop and how from one community to another, you tend to have more questions being asked, you know, within one particular community. It's I find it fascinating to see how common what kind of questions I was hoping people would ask. It's probably another question. I do really hope that people are are asking more questions related to the youth, the struggles that the youth are going into, and more questions relating to like Islam and, well, how do we deal with the different struggles, and what kind of things should we look for when it comes to different misconceptions, and it's so sad that most of the questions when they come to me relating to that, it's already gone too far. It's already gone too far. And then they would think, oh, just give me a magic wand. What if I bring my daughter to sit with you for an hour? Are you going to be able to get all the misconceptions within just 1 hour or 2 or 3? It's like, it doesn't go like that. Every single misconception, has probably been there, and it started going into sub questions already.
And it's connected to public schools, right?
Absolutely, it's connected to public schools. Universities are also considered part of the public schools. It becomes this whole set of indoctrination. It's all together. It's from early school age, and then middle school, and then high school, and then university. And the whole thought is actually one. The whole thought, in where it's atheism, entertainment, it's ethics. Atheism, you can't separate it from the definitions of ethics and morality, and what and how you connect to that. Right now, I mean, it's really important to mention that a lot of the different things, Samson, do me the job, tell them to play somewhere else or listen to the desk. A lot of the different things that are happening at the university, let's talk about university level. It actually goes back all the way to the first early period of the schooling, which is when they were talking about, let's say, the science of it, which acts like the aqidah and the evolution. All right. And then there's that morality of it, which is it's presented and introduced in the form of sociology, in the form of psychology, and in the form of philosophy, and in so many different, in literature. So even literature introduces that piece of it, and without us realizing, it's a whole it's a whole tree and set of different things. It's a bunch of different fields. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. It's a bunch of different fields that are giving you a complete picture of nothing but a new idol. Nothing but a new idol. And then if you were to say, but no, wait a minute, let's talk about the idol here. But which area am I going to start from in dismantling this idol? This idol has already extended in so many different areas. So when they would come to you, am I going to start from psychology, or am I going to start from the philosophy and the whole evolution of it? And where am I going to start from? It becomes so intertwined. It would be impossible for me in 1 hour to dismantle all this building that they had already built, even in the life that they're living, the indoctrination, in the way that the social dynamics, it's all put together, a whole building right in front of you, without you realizing. Even if you were to take your daughter to Muslim psychologist or those people, most of the time, these people are actually part of the system. Even if she may be wearing a hijab, they're actually part of the system. They graduated high school. Their schooling was in American schooling. In other words, the foundation was already the same foundation that you are trying to, quote unquote, dismantle.
But Habibti, is it because for us Muslim, our foundation is based on the Sunnah and the Quran? That's what layers everything.
Absolutely.
It's other system.
It's all everything, every single thought. You think of it as this. When you're talking about philosophy, I know the word philosophy, people are like, it's a big term. It's not a big term. It's not. Think of it as what determines your behavior is really the main idea that determined your understanding of life. That's what determines it. So if, for example, your philosophy in life is that, hey, just enjoy yourself, the implication in action is going to be that you just don't care about consequences of anything. Why? Because your philosophy in life is that, hey, who cares? There's no purpose anyways. So before we talk about behavior and details, we first have to talk about the base of it. And that's why that's why even in Islam, it first discussed La ilaha illallah as the first thing. Before even discussing legislature, zina, khamr, pork, whatever it is, before even discussing that, it said, we have to go back to the very beginning of the foundation of what makes something right and wrong, and which is called epistemology. Your information, where does it come from? What determines if an idea is based on strong basis or is baseless? And that's the main foundation. And that's why everything in Islam is actually going back to asking the mushrikeen all the time, where did you get the idea from? It's always taking you back to the very beginning of it. Where did you get the idea from? What's the basis of that philosophy? Is it depending on strong evidence? What's the structure of that idea? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from ancestors? In other words, you blindly took an idea without scrutinizing that idea to see where it's coming from? Or was that idea based on speculation, where it's introduced as if it is an idea that is based on logic and science? But the reality of it is that it's based on doubt and speculation. Theory is another common term for it today. It sounds very sophisticated, but it's called theory. And the other one is desire, which is really politically motivated, in where culture, politics, lobbying would actually use media, and the masses become brainwashed that accepting such a behavior is part of being inclusive. That's the word that's going to be used. And that is the word that's being used. You have to be inclusive of every single behavior except one thing, which is to regard anything as the standard truth. Because the second that you regard something as true, as the standard, in that same second, you're going to be regarded as somebody that is not inclusive, and somebody that is exclusive, and somebody that is somehow being too extreme and judgmental in their ideas. And there it becomes. So when you look at the situation today, right now, it's all trying to go into this type of lobbying, creating a narrative, and not based on even the argument. The second that you even discuss it as an argument, you will be locked out. Even when let's talk about the argument of it. You will be locked out in different ways in where it will then, and it's really sad to actually see it in so many different Muslims. They're doing a lot of activism, and a lot of these platforms, they would have Muslims that are really, defending Muslim rights and etc. But then you would see that taking the Muslims as if it was, or Islam as if it was a culture. And right now, we're getting something else coming in, which is so-called specialists in Islamic studies. This is real. So-called specialists in Islamic studies that are right now presented as if they have the academia to speak on Islam, when their academia or their Islamic Studies Foundation was really based on the Western perspective. We'll come back after Salah, inshallah. Stay tuned, everyone. We're going to pray Maghrib and come back, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.